Let's get started demo first of inline query with the search criteria in Dapper. So here I just create a one endpoint which is get all person, and if I just execute this application, right? So now see, if I just hit this endpoint, so I'm getting all that data, right? So which is coming from that Dapper inline query. And once I just search criteria that set its search criteria, like for example IDs, right? So once I pass as the ID, like for example, if I pass that multiple ID, for example, one, right? As of now, just send it one. So now see, I'm just getting the only one record, right? Because I am just sending passing one. But if I want to more records, suppose for example, 1 and 3. So once I send it back, now see, I'm getting that whatever that search criteria I'm just asking to the data, it is giving to me, right? Similar, there is a not only just ID search criteria, there's a multi search criteria. For example, suppose I want to get the search by the name, right? So similar, I can use it again, like use that guy. Like for example, I want this this person data, right? So if I pass this person data, so definitely it will give that person data, right? Similar, if I just remove this guy, right? I don't want this guy because I want to search using that names only. So just search. So see, whatever the terms, I am getting this terms, right? If you want to multiple names you want to send, so you can just send it. So as of now, just let me comment it and send back so that I can check what are the name is present. So I have a Tom and I have also Peter. So let me just add this name over here, for example, like this, like uncomment is that, right? And then simply I can pass another name like Peter and just request. Now see, I'm getting Tom and Peter, right? So these two data I'm getting because I'm sending as a names as a Tom and Peter, right? Similar, if I want to search criteria different, active or inactive, which is not present over here, but yeah, I'll show you in the database. So simply I can just remove this guy, or just keep it this guy, and then just use is active, and this is active if suppose if it is true. So whatever the data I want to whose person is is active, so those data will be given me, right? So now see, now this two, using these two names like Tom and Peter, this two person is active, right? So like is active, like this Tom and Peter is active. But if I just filter like is false, so this Tom and Peter is not as a this Tom is not deactive, right? But Peter is deactive, but Tom is sorry, Tom is deactive, but Peter is not deactive, right? So that's why they are excluding that data. If I just comment this guy, like suppose I just comment the search criteria of the names, so now see, whatever the data as of now is deactive, so that is returning back to me, right? Like only Tom record, which is one ID, which is a deactive as of now, that I can show you in a DB as well. Now see, I just query this guy only, this is that guy, this Tom ID 1 is deactive, other one all our person is active, right? So that's why it is giving. Similar, if I just pass as a true, so it will giving that all that except this one, like Tom, except that Tom ID 1, they are returning all the data, right? So this will can implement or achieve very easily inline query in the Dapper, so that we will show you how we can achieve that, right? And yeah, so before I start the implementation, I'm especially recommend, if you first time visit my channel, so go to my channel, which is .NET Real World Example, and here, and last time actually I just complete this work operation, where I just covered how to work insert, update and delete, right? So I'm especially recommend, please watch to this session so that you can understand how actually Dapper work is a work in session and operation, right? So that you can easily understand this concept. So now I'll take that same repository which I just covered last time. So this is that same repository, this is that guy, bulk operation Dapper, right? So I'll take the same example which is I build in .NET Core Web API along with the Dapper. So take a same example over here. I'll continue that implementation. So what need to do first actually I have to just implement on one service which will returning me get all person with this search criteria, right? So I have already those existing endpoint or existing service which is bulk delete, bulk insert, bulk update. So similar, I have to just create another method, another service over here which is get all person via the search criteria. So let me just create that method over here. I'll just simply create the method over there like this way, right? And what does this method, what is that? Like simple, see, I just returning back that person result, right? Person data, but here I just passing okay IDs, names, and is active, right? This three property. But yeah, you can just pass it as a class as well as a model as well, so that if do have multiple property, so instead of just define one by one, so that can contain as a class or some things, right? So that also better. But yeah, for understanding perspective, I'll showing you, like, see. So this three property I'm just passing on, also all this three property actually it is taking as a default null value, right? Because if I'm not passing any value, so it will treat it as a null and it will returning all the data. If I pass any value of this particular ID, so it will filter that based on this IDs and returning back. If I pass any data based on that name, so it will filter and this. If I pass any data from now is active or deactive, so it will return it back. So such kind of I just have to do that, right? And now go back to that implementation of this particular service. Now go back to in the person class, person service, and here I just implement over here, right? So go back to here and let me bring back that parameters in one line, okay? And this is just default implementation. Now I have to just implement. So there is a I'll just show you first, like if I using a simple inline query, so what would happen, and after that I will show you the two approach, like which one which I'll show you. Like one of that I can use that symbol using as inline query, and another one also as an inline query, but it is some no manipulation on that. So two way I'll show you, but first I'll show you that problem if I just use a simple approach, right? So let me just create a query over here. Let me just create a query, right? So this is that query I'm just using over here. Like what this does, like see, normally if we are treating as a such kind of scenario, like which I have a multiple parameter, but that can be sometimes this can be null, but that can be null, but sometimes this could be an a value, or sometimes this could be an a value, or this could be an a value, right? So in this case definitely I'll using this query which have simply we have to returning all the data, along with we'll use this additional parameter like this way. But here's the problem actually, in the Dapper if you use this kind of query, it is not supported, because I'll tell you a little bit later. But yeah, now if you observe, now see, I'm just passing as a in query, but I'm just passing what, I'm just passing as a array of that integer, right? Similar, I'm passing of the array of that string, and this is fine, there's no issue. If you have a single value without any array object or array value, so that is fine. But problem is for Dapper here, like if you passing that array values, so they are not understanding and all. So don't worry, I'll execute this query using Dapper, and also I'll show you in a SQL profile what actually execute and creating this query over here, right? So let me show you first the problem, right? Then I'll show you the solution as well. So let me create this query, and after that what I will do, I'll just create parameter. So based on that parameter, what I'll use the dynamic parameter and just pass whatever that IDs, names, and is actives I'm using over here, and simply I can just pass that whatever that value is an array, right? And now that's it. And then finally I need to call one of that method, execution method of the Dapper, so that Dapper can take this query and this parameter and they can execute internally and return back the data, right? So what I will do, simply I'll just create this execution method, and this execution method, yeah, so see, one thing I'm missing over here, I have to just create first a connection. So for that connections, definitely I have to use, I previously actually I just using this guy, right? See, so I need to just create this guy for that, create a connections, right? So let me use the using a statement so that it will be open and automatically will be close as well, right? And yeah, so now see, also I'll use that async, so use that await async method, right? And now see, now it is fine. I'm just opening that connection, and this connection is basically query async, and in this query async what we are passing this person result we have to return back, and passing this query, whatever query I generating, and this parameter, simple, is a Dapper concept, right? So what if it is your query, if it is fine, so it should be return all the data, right? But here's the problem, actually it should not be returning. So let me just create a endpoint quickly so that I can execute and show you like what is the problem actually. So let me go to the person controller, and here quickly just create a one endpoint where I can just call that endpoint, right? So let me just quickly create a endpoint over here as a get endpoint. So I'll just using a http get, right? And using that get method, and here I need to pass as a, you know, body. Inside that body I am just expecting that all criteria, right? So for that actually I need to just create a one search criteria model. Let me quickly create this search criteria model inside this our model. So go to here, create a new class, and here let me make it, name it search criteria, and just pass it to whatever that property you want inside over here. So basically I want IDs, names, and is active, which is I am expecting from that UI they will send this data, right? And also I just set as a default, because whatever the default value I just set it as a default. And now go back. Okay, now my endpoint is got ready, and also whatever that get all person I just method just created, I just call it over here and passing this whatever the search criteria IDs, names, and this, and simply whatever object will be returning on the data I'll simply show it over here, right? So this is done. Now run this application and show in that exception, like what is the issue in this query. Now my application got running. Here you can see application got running with these two endpoint, right? Two listening point, like one is the 1552 and one is that https 7239. Both is fine, you can use the both one, but I'll use this guy 5112. Now go to my postman, right? And here simply I'll change to that endpoint, a listening point, right? So now I just change it over here, and I just comment it over here, right? Because first time I'll just pass it to the null and see what happened. So once I execute, now see I'm getting one error. And what is that error? Now see, error is saying like incorrect near incorrect syntax of IDs, right? So it is not supported this IDs, right? First, because they will getting this first one, so it is getting IDs, so that's why it's stating is not supported this IDs. Why it's not supported IDs? First I'll show you in a SQL profile what actually it's generating. So let me just clear this profile. So this is a SQL profile, I'll just running in my local. You also can running in your local. So once you run and let me execute, so you will get, okay, let me cancel that and send back again. So if you send back again, and it should be okay, I think some issue, I need to stop, I guess. Let me stop our application first. Okay, I think that application is still on that same place. So let me continue this guy first. let me continue or stop that. Okay, now it's released. So now let me clear again. Okay, yeah, my SQL profile is cleared, and just send it back. Now it's going over here, and now see, the query is got created over here. So as of now, see, whatever that query is generated, whatever that query we are sending, same query will be generating over here, but uh, using this parameter, right? And this parameter, once I pass this IDs, right? So this IDs is a arrays, right? So this arrays, it's not supported directly over here, right, in the Dapper. So that is actually the problem. So there is a solution also. I'll show you the solution as well. So that's why I'll show you that problem. And if you try to execute this query also, it won't work because this IDs is not directly working like this way. And yeah, why it's not working, let's see. In this parameter, if you see a db type, so let me use the db type. There is a no such kind of type, this which have to accept this array, right? So we have the multiple type like integer, string and something else, right? But we don't have a array type, so that's why it's complaining it is not supported, or might be incorrect syntax or null, right? So what is the solution over here? So solution is over here. Ideally we don't need to pass as a parameter as a array. Simply I have to pass as a simple as a string, right? This is the one way. And another way is like we can pass as a IDs, like as an array, but in this case we have to manipulate this, this query. Like we don't that time actually we can't create a single query. That time I have to create like this way. Like first I have to create a select start from this, and after that, based on this IDs, right? Suppose I have this IDs, right? If we have this IDs, so that time I have to create it, the parameter on that particular parameter, right? And then I have to pass it over here, because once I pass it as a null, as a IDs, an array as a null, so that time actually they are confusing, right? So that's why we have to prepare this two approach. So let me show you that first approach. So let me comment this guy over here and show you that first approach. So first approach over here, which is a inline, simple inline. Okay, and in this simple inline I'll use over here one of that query, which is like this way. Let me show you. Let me just create a query over here. So similar query I just created over here again, but this time I just modify a little bit over here in OR condition. Now see what I'm trying to do. Simply again I'm using the AND ID in, and then I'm using select value from that string split. But this time whatever that IDs I have as a string value, that I'm trying to split it, right, with this comma. That's it. But accept it this ID as a string value. After that we trying to commas, right? Means splitting this value using this comma. Similar names also I'm using same way, right? And this is that one approach. And in this approach what I need to do, yeah, again those ID I have to pass it, but before ID I have to pass it, I have to just manipulate this IDs. Like suppose see, as of now I have getting that integer array, right? But I have to convert it to back to in our string string value, like using that comma. And after that, once I getting the data, I'll just split it again to one by one and pass it over here as a table format, right? So let me just create first, just let me convert it to this IDs and name as a string. How we can do that? It's simple. I can use as a IDs CSV concept, right? So this is that one. So simply I'll just check if it is not equal to null, then I just using that string join, and in this string join I'm using this comma, and whatever that array I just convert it to as a single string with using this comma. Similar I'll use for that a name as well. Let me use as a name as well. So now I just convert it to as a simple string, right? See, this is simple string, both are simple string, and then I need to create a parameter over here and pass it to as a string. That's it, right? So similar, I'll just create a dynamic parameter, and again same name, IDs, and active, but this time I'm just passing as a string value. That's it, right? Internally they will get it this guy and manipulate and return back to the data. So this is one approach. Let me run this application and show you, and after that I will use the second approach. So save it, right? Save it and run this application again. And application got running. Go back to our postman, and now this time let me execute. So now once I execute, I'm getting that result, right? Expected result. And if I see the SQL profile, so this time, see, this time also they are generating same query, right? Whatever I have, but yeah, they just additionally they add a blank and all, right? Double code and all. Internally they actually just converting these things, but yeah, that is not our headache. That is a headache of the Dapper they're doing. And once I pass this null, now see, it is null. They are now treating as a empty result over here, right? So once I pass let me just delete this guy and pass that search criteria, right? So that how actually they're generating. So simply let me just pass over here IDs, and this ID, for example, pass that one. Okay, first pass is id 1, then execute. Now I'm getting this id 1, and if you see that SQL profile, see, it is just passing as id 1 and it is returning back the data. Similar, if you pass suppose I passing the name as well, so this is that name. If I pass that name like Tom and Peter, so definitely Peter is not matched with id 1, so it will return only Tom. So send back, now getting one result. But if you SQL profile, this time you can see whatever you parameter you pass, you are able to see over here, like these two names and IDs, right? Similar, if you pass that the third criteria, which is active or deactive, right? So if I pass that active, so it is not active. Actually Tom record is not active, right? But you can see over here it is just getting their data, right? ID is 1, was active is 1, is active is 1, Tom, and this guy. And then if I just false it, so definitely I'll get the data because Tom record as a has a deactive. So now it's returning back, and data also got changed over here, right? So like this way, this is a simple approach, common approach. So way of this, we can easily achieve this inline query in a Dapper with the search criteria, multiple search criteria, right? We don't need to create no multiple service where I can just, okay, so if I required get by ID, so I need to create one more method, one more inline query, like, okay, where ID is this equal to this. But avoiding this multiple method, I can use simple is a one method which is returning get all person, and I can use multiple search criteria, right? And in our business logic I can use it this whatever our business logic, I can use it this guy, right? And yeah, this is that one approach. Now I'm moving to another approach. So let me comment this section. Okay, this approach 1. So now moving to approach 2. Approach 2, that might be everybody know, but yeah, I'll show you. Might be someone is not knowing about that. So in this case, what I need to do, simply I'll using a string builder query, so that I can building this query. So now I'll use this, right? So first, simply I just create a query which will returning all that data, right? by default is all giving that all the data. And once I get this data, what I will do, I'll just create a parameter, dynamic parameter, and in this dynamic parameter I'll just handle like if it is whatever the data, like if it is IDs, if it is null and all. So in this case I'll just simply adding this query over here. So whatever this query plus add and ID in IDs, right? Because problem is here previously, if you see in this where is that query, yeah, this query. So if anyone is null, right? So if it is, if you send a array of null, so it is complaining. But if you passing a data with array object with the data, right? So there is a no issue, because that actually Dapper can handle. But if you pass as a null array, so it is getting a problem. So that's why I have to manipulate like this way. Like if has a value, that time I can just simply using this inquiry and simply I can add this parameter. So in this case there's a no issue. The Dapper also can understand and they can execute and return back the data. Similar I will handle for that name as well. So let me handle name as well. So if name has any value not equal to null or has any value, then again I have to just manipulate the first name in a in query, and then I have to add this parameter like this way, right? So like this way, and then similar I can use the third one, which is also is if is active has a value, right? So again I have to just adding this query like is active also as a and is active conditions, and add that parameter, right? So this is that another approach which one and suit to you in your applications, so you can use it, right? And then finally simply you can pass this query and parameter. That's it. It should be same behavior, whatever that behavior over here, right? But in this case always it will generating that query based on that condition. Like suppose if does not has a value, so this condition will not meet and it will not generating this condition, and similar to this and this, right? Don't worry, I'll show you once I execute this query. I'll show you what happened and how actually generate this query. First let me just clear again this SQL profile and run this application. And once you run, now my application got running, go back to Postman, and first let me just comment it all that, right, so that I can show you and send back. Now see, I'm getting that all result, right, as expected, and I can check the SQL profile. And in this SQL profile, now see, if everything is null, so only this generating this query SQL start from this where 1 equal to 1, right? And once I send back to as a criteria, like for example first is ID, right? If it is I pass this ID and just execute, now I'm getting this this data. But go back to in SQL profile, now see this time is generating this query where is this an ID. Now this time see is generating in using that brackets, and then ID is integer, and then they using this internally actually they whatever that execution parameter, right? So using this way. Similar if I use another parameter, for example I am using this guy names, also name criteria, so send back. Okay, so I think it is not right, so let me send back. Now I'm getting this, and go back to SQL profile. Now again see name is fine, then first name like this way. Now see, if I pass two name, so it will be generated these two names, right? Name 1 and name 2, and they will pass it over here, right? So they internally generating based on this parameter, whatever parameter I'm just passing, right? So they handling because it have a value. So if has a value, does not have an issue in the Dapper side. But if some criteria is a null or null value, or your passing is a null forcefully, so that time actually Dapper is does not support it or handle it. So that's why it's throwing the exception. So, and the last one also I'll show it to you, if it is active or deactive. So let me why it's complaining. Okay, here the problem. So let me false it because it is false. And if I see the execution, now see, now I'm getting and. So this is the simple query, like we are and in this IDs, then first name in these two names, and then active is active, right? So like this way, you can use it, or you can just implement your search criteria in inline in using the Dapper functionality. So that's all for this session, and yeah, thank you so much, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.